Wow. My face when I see sinners. Like, straight up, when I see sinners from now on, that's my face. I'll be bleeding out the eyeballs, my mouth will be wide open, dripping with blood, and now I'll put on my war face. So, that's my face when I see sinners. I think we can all agree to that. So, jokes aside, this episode of Seraph of the End, holy shit, dude. Like, we all knew Yu had something else inside of him that wasn't fully human. It's already been hinted at since the beginning, so this just didn't come out of nowhere. It's actually been hinted at, so I can't say it just popped out of nowhere. It's like a magical power-up. It actually was hinted at and talked about, so I can understand the way this episode's done. Now, when it comes to this episode, though, there's some good things and there's some bad things. Now, when it comes to terms of the execution of the episode, I think the episode was splendid. It was a really good episode, and I felt like the studio did a good job with the way they execute this episode with proper scenes to camera angles and stuff like that. The only issue I can really say when it comes to this episode, personally to me, just to me only, would have to be the backgrounds. I've been saying it since, last review, but the backgrounds are really needing some work. They need a lot more work done to them, or they just don't really suit with the character models. I expressed this in my last review, but it's so damn apparent with, how this series is done. The backgrounds just do not fit with the characters at all. They really do not. I mean, when you're looking at the characters standing on the road, they don't even look like they're stationed right in the middle of the screen. They don't. But besides that, episode, fucking good. So, here's the thing. With the episode, we get to see whatever creature is inside of you. And wow, just the horns that popped out like in his inner mind or whatever, in his inner world. You see these horns pop up, and then it starts going out of control, and then you just see this weird black ooze just coming out of you, like his chest right here in his back, and it just pops up and it has like this giant ass wing. It reminded me a lot, don't take offense to this, Seraph of the End's readers or watchers, or Tokyo Ghoul manga readers or watchers, whatever fan you are of, don't take offense to what I'm about to say. But the wing that popped out of you reminded me a lot of Toka. It really did. Now, like I said, just because it reminds me of it doesn't mean it's similar, 100% similar. I'm just saying it reminds me of it. That's it. I'm just saying that the black wing thing reminded me of Toka with the one wing, Kagune. But regardless of that, though, I felt like the music, I think really what made this episode so damn good was the music. If it wasn't for that music, I don't think this episode would have been as good. But that's almost every episode of Seraph of the End. What really drives this series and continues to make it really good is the soundtrack. The soundtrack is like the bread and butter for this series. It really just meshes with what is going on in this series. I mean, this episode, for the most part, if we were to be really critical about this episode, if we were to really get down and critical, we have seen this type of episode before in other shonen. We have. Let's face it. Taizai, Naruto, Bleach. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff like this we have seen in other shonen. Not just specifically them, but other shonen we have seen where characters have their own inner demons or powers inside of them, and they break out of control, and then they start demonstrating that they're fucking OP and strong and wrecking everybody that you thought was strong. That's kind of what this episode was. It was like that type of episode to demonstrate what type of monster is really inside of you and what is really going on, and his potential for his inevitable future with his full maximum strength. So from what we can see, if you can harness his power, whatever is inside of him, he will be able to just in one slash cut down fucking buildings. Did you see what he did to those buildings with one slash? Just obliterated buildings. One slash when, he slashed at Mika dodged. The roof, the shingles off the roof, the very structure on the top of the roof just obliterated, just fucking gone. And I'm like, whoa, God, dude, the shingles off the roof just flew off. It was just gone. It was bare bone structure that was left after he just swung his weapon. Damn, it's crazy. So, episode, in terms of being original, I guess I couldn't really say that, but it comes down to the execution. It really comes down to the execution with these scenes, if it's done right, and if people can really enjoy them. Coming from me, as a person that's read a lot of shonen, I haven't read everything, of course, but coming from me, as a reader of a lot of shonen, watcher a lot of shonen, I enjoyed this. This was a very hype episode. It was. It was a hype episode. Of course, there's going to be some that will disagree with this episode, because there's always two viewpoints to a series. I mean, you can either like it, you can either hate it, or you can just be the middle ground. You're like, eh. And personally, I enjoyed it. I think, like I said, that really got me into this episode was the music, along with some of the animation that was used. Now, the animation of Seraph at the end, I will be honest here, it looks good in some scenes, but sometimes the animation doesn't really hold up to the music. Like, if both sides can coexist properly together with the animation and music, oh my god, we would have a fucking great anime series. Like, damn. But there is some issues with the animation. But I still feel like this episode, it nailed it. It nailed it for the most part. I don't know how the content of this episode is compared to the manga, because I haven't read the manga. Manga readers, let me know, how was the execution of these scenes in this? Like, I'm guessing when we saw the eye, like, blackened with a black circle on it on you in this episode, I'm assuming that was censors. I'm assuming it was, because it looked like the way the black hole thing on Yu's face was on one of his eyes, it looked like it was censored. It really did. I don't know if it was or not, but it did look censored. So, also, can manga readers clarify that? Was that censored on the eyeball for the majority of this episode when you transformed to whatever mode he was in? So, yeah. Now, one thing, though, we get clarification on is that Gurren knows about whatever's inside of you. He knows. He absolutely knows. So, how many different people know about this, and, like, what are they trying to gain from experimenting on you? Are they just trying to build a weapon to counteract against the vampires? I'm assuming that's what they're trying to do. But this also hints at maybe the humans really did cause that virus many years ago. I mean, if you think about it. See, as we found out at the beginning of the series, majority of the human population got wiped out thanks to humans making a virus and killing majority of humans off. Vampires stepped in, saved humans, and turned them into livestock. And as I said since the beginning, we don't know which side is technically right. I mean, we didn't know if the vampires were just lying and they made the virus, or we don't know if the humans made the virus. But judging by the information we received in this episode, you can assume that the humans did make the virus, because the way one of the counts see, he just comes up and he says, like, oh, humans always using their human experimentation and all that, you know, just experimenting and stuff. So it makes you assume that it's possible they did make the virus that wiped out majority of humanity. Humans did. So, who is necessarily the villain? That's the big question we have to wonder right now. Like, is the vampires the villain? Is the humans the villain? I guess both sides you can kind of consider are villains. And both sides, I guess you can consider the good guys, too. I mean, there's two halves of the same coin. So, maybe humans and vampires are evil and good. Then, what is you? That's the big question. See, you is completely different from what I noticed from the other two sides. Like, if you look at the way he was done, he had something else inside of him. It was not vampire, obviously. It did not look like vampire, and the vampires looked like they were kind of shocked, but not that surprised, actually. It was kind of shocking. Some of the vampires didn't seem to be that impressed. They were amused, but they weren't like, holy shit, run for your life. They weren't kind of like that. So, it seems like they might know or whatever it is, but it looked like they were not really surprised when it came down to Yu's transformation. I guess it's because they know humans experiment a lot, and that's probably why they're not really confused. But that's about it. I mean, that's the episode. It was a good episode. I enjoyed it. Of course, there's going to be some that's not probably going to like this episode because of the content that was in this episode, but there's always different sides to how you look at a series. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or not wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.